time we go live, you will get a notification and you will never miss some of those programs. You can also invite friends and share some of the programs so that they don't miss anything. Today, what is it that we are talking about? It is a topical issue that is affecting each and everyone in Zimbabwe, regardless of where you are or who you are. The program that we are going to talk about today is called Conversation on Mainstreaming Informal Economy, the Key to Zimbabwe. And who is it that we are talking about today? We are talking about an association of informal association is called Zimbabwean Chamber of Informal Economy Association. To help me to talk about it and more about everything else is the president of the association. I am going to talk about Lorraine Silvester. President, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Robert.
The chair, in short, what is it?
The chair is the Zimbabwe Chamber of Informal Economy Associations. It is an association of different informal economy workers around Zimbabwe who ply different trades. So far, the chair is in 47 areas throughout Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm. And the information that we have from International Monetary Fund, IMF, says that the informal economy in Zimbabwe tops. It is actually on number one and second in the world from Bolivia, a country that is in South America. How did we end up with such kind of a situation where such a high percentage of Zimbabweans are in the informal economy? For some, they would want to say in vending.
We have a very interesting economic path as Zimbabwe. Post-independence, we saw an introduction of different policies and different decisions made at government level, which actually led to the increase of the informal economy in the country. This is to say that informal economy has always been there, but at a smaller scale. But with the coming in or introduction of the economic adjustment programs in the 90s, there was a rise in levels of people who were not formally employed. As people were thrown out of their formal working places, as they were dismissed from industries and firms, they took their expertise to their backyards. And others who sought vending as a way of seeking livelihoods. So that has actually grown as we continued to plunge into an economic crisis as a country. That is why we have grown to the high levels of informality. Also, during the recent years, we saw the Zuma judgment, which gave employers the permission, or they gave them the space to hire and fire as they please. So this has led to more people losing their formal jobs and actually joining the informal economy to do their own livelihood programs, both at home and in the streets or public spaces, so to speak.
So in other words, it is the government's policies that has led to the situation where we are, where many people have found themselves in the streets vending.
We cannot just say it has been the government's policies. It has also been the innovation of Zimbabwean citizens who have no alternative. They have come up with innovative ways of making a living outside looking to government for livelihoods.
But making a living, is it sustainable?
It is very hard to sustain such a livelihood because most of it is survivalistic. So there has to be a number of conditions in place to make sure that livelihoods are sustainable. And right now, the informal economy is not a stable place to make a livelihood. Neither is it a regulated space or protected space.
Yes, you talked something about that it is not a regulated space. But considering that this is where many Zimbabweans are now working, is it not the right time for the government to do that?
It's long overdue for government to do that, because what we would envisage is to say, as economic policies change or as people are thrown out of labor, there should be a fallback plan and also policies to protect those people who lose employment and go into the informal economy. Quite interestingly though, at international level, we do have such a backup, like the International Labour Recommendation 204, which speaks to the transitioning of the informal economy to formal economy.
And do you think the government has done anything to assist the vendors, the informal sector?
I think there is very little which has been done to assist the informal economy. And mostly what we have seen, the vendors are more visible, but the informal economy is vast. It also covers people who do communal farming. Others are doing a whole lot of trades in their backyards, in their houses, and even in some areas where they come together to be in a market or a space that they occupy. These spaces are often fraught with government or local authority evictions, and also you will find that there is very little which makes it habitable. There may be no running water, no toilets, so people just set up shop and work so that they can make a living.
Before the July 30 elections, the chair went around the country where they were inviting prospecting candidates to come and address the vendors and also share their promises that they were putting on the table if they win. Some did win, some lost. For those that have won, are they fulfilling the promises that they made?
I like the reference to the fact that as chair before the July 30 elections of 2018, we held town hall meetings where people met their prospective candidates. I think it also takes me to a few weeks back, where in responding to such a question, the next thing that you see on media is to say reference is being made to one specific person. We are talking about a number of candidates who were met and a number of candidates who made promises. From the local government elections, which means those who are vying to be councillors, to those who are vying to be members of parliament, and a few who are vying for the post of president in the country. Having met them across the country, promises, yes, were made. There were conversations where the informal economy workers, who are not only confined to being vendors, there was a whole kaleidoscope of informal economy workers who attended those meetings and wanted to know what the prospective candidates were promising them once they got into the council chambers or they got into parliament. There were such promises as to say the candidates would make sure that they would be speaking on behalf of the informal economy to highlight the issue that people do not have a choice. They are doing what they are doing so as to survive. Others were really promising, and they would really stroke the informal economy workers' egos by saying informal economy is the economy, you are the people, you are the electorate, we will work together. So far we haven't had positive feedback to say there is a candidate who won the election who is working together with the informal economy workers in order to make their work more sustainable or to give them opportunity to work instead of the running battles between informal economy traders and the enforcement agents.
But as an association, have you approached maybe the political parties or the individuals, such as councillors or members of parliament, to say, this is what you promised us and this is where we are?
That is an upcoming program. I think as we promised them in the town hall meetings that definitely we're going to follow up, and it's all on record to say so and so was speaking, we're not speaking for them. We can actually play the videos where they were making the promises. I think it's important.
Yes.
It's high time in Zimbabwe we held leaders accountable to what they promise and to make sure they keep their promises. And to say if they cannot keep their promises, go back to the people that you have promised and share whatever challenges you are facing to execute the promise that you made. So for that one, it is not a problem. And the good thing is SlyMedia was there recording all those people making the beautiful and flowery speeches and all those promises. So definitely we shall be following up and making a follow-up to say, let's have more town hall meetings. As soon as we gather resources to do that, we shall go back to the places where we met and make a follow-up.
For those that have just joined us today, we are talking about the informal economy. And with me in the studio is the president of Zimbabwe Chamber of Informal Economy Association, Zim Vendors, where we are talking about issues that affect the informal economy. Others would want to say vendors. I just want to take you back a little bit. How does one become a member of the chair?
To become a member of the chair, one has got to be an informal economy worker. And when we talk about informal economy, it's so broad, especially for Zimbabwe. And when we refer to the recommendation 204 of the ILO, we also note that there are a number of people who are in formal employment, who are actually employed, but their work is informalized, such as casual workers. Others work, but they no longer have social protection in place. So we accept members as long as they can prove that they are informal economy workers, and the fee to be as a chair member is just $6. And when we say $6, it's not exactly dollars. We are just used to saying dollars. It's 6 bond or RTGS to be precise. Yes, to be precise. So this 6 RTGS is for a whole year, which translates to 50 cents of RTGS per month.
Yes, you also mentioned the word social protection. In vending, there's no pension. In vending, probably to some, there is no medical aid where, you know, before you get your salary, it is deducted from, you know. How then, if one is faced find themselves in a crisis where they need such kind of thing, like to go to hospital, do the association assist members?
Right, as you have rightly pointed out, in the informal economy, there is very little or no social protection at all. And social protection includes everything that you have also mentioned. It also, because the informal economy is made up of so many women, it also includes social protection speaks to maternity benefits. And we note that in the informal economy, there are no maternity benefits. One will work until the last day she delivers, and before the baby is even grown, they are back at their workplace, which is the public space, and eking a living for the family. So as an association, we have been so limited by resources to say we can roll out a social protection program for our members. But we are still working on it. We are working to see how can we work together to start our own initiatives, because already engagements with government have been numerous, but so far there hasn't been any positive. And also noting the gross economic darkness that we are waiting in Zimbabwe. It would just be a dream to say the government can wake up and come up with a working social protection scheme for informal economy workers. So we are already working on initiatives whilst we continue to lobby government. As a member state of the International Labour Organization, it is also bound by the agreements and standards of the ILO to provide certain conditions for workers, informal economy workers included.
It reminds me of a joke where a vendor, when he was on his deathbed, he called his children, and then he said, Lorraine, I'll leave you Angwa seat. Robert, I'll leave you Kozo building. Silvester, I'll leave you Joiner seat. And some of the patients that we also, they said, this man is quite someone, he owns all those buildings. But actually he meant the places that he was also vending at the street corners. Let's go international. What is it that the chair has learned from other associations outside Zimbabwe that you think we can implement back in Zimbabwe so that the economy can be formalized?
What we have learned on an international level, having been a focal point for the StreetNet International Organization for over 10 years, of which we recently handed over to Tanzania, we have learned that it is also important to come up with initiatives of our own as an organization to set the ball rolling on social protection. When we look at such issues as child care, our children as informal economy workers are exposed to a lot of danger, and they are also robbed of their right to play, because despite belonging to a poorer class in the society, children are children, and our own children should also enjoy their right to play. But it is impossible to do so where there are no play centers which actually cater for such a class of parents and children. So we have taken lessons from West Africa, where some of our fellow affiliates of StreetNet have begun to set up play centers in the market. And they've also begun to do initiatives of their own pertaining to a number of social protection aspects.
Coming back home, as an association, you've also tried to engage government at the chair level to talk about the informal economy in the country, and what has been their response, if ever you met them?
That has been our daily work, to engage government, because we cannot work outside engaging them, seeing as they are the powers who hold all the policy implementation, and no matter what good we want to do, we still need policies in place that will protect and support whatever work we are doing. This has been an ongoing process to engage government, and I think we have written a number of letters, a number of petitions. Then we moved from the petition mode to giving alternatives, and we came up with a 4 policy position paper which we presented to different departments of government. We also presented that to the Office of the President. Sadly, there was no response. We have been talking to ourselves, but we have said we won't give up, because we are legitimate citizens of Zimbabwe. We deserve to be heard. Of late, we have seen a development where we have engaged some parliamentary portfolio committees and commissions who have been receptive to our presentations, and also we have begun to have some invite us for further conversations. We hope that at the end of the day, we shall gain access to the president who has proclaimed that Zimbabwe is open for business, and Zimbabwe does not have business that is bigger than the informal economy business.
But Zimbabwe is open for business. Do you think Zimbabwe is open for vending, considering the cat and mouse that we have seen in urban centers, where the Zimbabwean Public Police and the municipal police are chasing our vendors from their vending sites?
It is not very open to the ordinary Zimbabwean. That is our concern. That's why we are saying we need that door to be open for engagement. If Zimbabwe is really open for business, it should start with the citizens. And I believe the citizens who are viewed to be the least of citizens should have access in order for us to prove that Zimbabwe is really open and that the doors which have been closed are open. In short, charity begins at home. So we really need to see and feel that, because opening it up and proclaiming it to the world, whilst we still feel so much neglected and unattended, and we feel that there is a sort of denial gear by the highest of authorities or the highest office in the country, is not a healthy starting point. We need that acknowledgement, then from there the engagement will yield better results.
On your position paper that you presented to government, there are 4 issues that you want the government to address. What are the 2 top ones?
Social protection, and also we are talking about policies which directly address the informal economy. Right now, a lot of our national policies focus on the small formal economy, whilst neglecting the informal economy. And according to the Labour Force Survey of 2014, 94.5% of Zimbabwe's working population is found in the informal economy. So we need those policies to redirect. We need a policy shift.
And I understand you are also part of the StreetNet. Just in brief, for the benefit of the viewers, what is your position there and what is it all about?
Okay, Robert, I am the current StreetNet International President, running my 2nd term with StreetNet since 2016. StreetNet International is a network of informal economy organization which is global. We work with over 50 organizations in 49 countries worldwide. And these countries are in 4 regions. They are in Africa, which is Southern Africa, Eastern, Central and Western Africa. And they are also in Asia, Europe, and the Americas.
And just being the president of that organization, what benefits does it bring to Zimbabwe? What is it that we can learn and say, this is what others are doing? If we do it here, this can help us.
There is a lot that we are learning. For instance, I learned from one advanced country that informal economy workers there are given space to work, and because they benefit from the opportunity to work, they have clean markets which also draw their clientele to come and trade and buy from them. They pay 30% towards social security, which means that whilst they pay 70% less than their formally employed counterparts. And when we talk about tax, this is now a simplified tax regime for them. Whereas in Zimbabwe, we pay a lot of taxes as the informal economy. From the minute you buy goods for resale or goods to do your manufacturing, you have to pay VAT for that. And when you go to your workplace, if you are doing it in public space, there are a lot of levies that are paid. Some to the city council, others to space barons, and so many others. So we regard it as a tax. If there is a way that this could be regularized and have a way to come up with a simplified trade regime, that will not only benefit the informal economy workers, it will benefit government as well in terms of revenue which will be directed straight to the government, easy to account for, and also monitored and evaluated as easily as the policy would dictate.
You mentioned something which is of interest, where you said there's an issue of space barons. The chair is an association where I believe it's a grouping of those that are in the informal sector. They know who is doing what, the space barons, who they are. Why don't you unite and approach the municipalities and say, we are tired of these people. Can we pay directly to you? Or can we be given the space as people that are vending every day?
This is the process that we are engaging in, Robert. And I think we have done it before. We approached certain offices, but then there was a Bantu migration in our country to say the incoming of the new dispensation and all that, offices change and they continue to change. So it's ongoing. We have a lobby and advocacy program going on. So we continue to engage the offices to say, give us space to talk, and together we can talk developmental issues. We also can contribute, because being informal does not mean that our brains are also informal. Our brains are just as good as anyone else's brains.
I want to bring you back to Harare. I've heard that the municipality said now vendors are supposed to pay $8 a day for one to do their work in the streets. Do you think that is sustainable?
That is not sustainable at all, because we believe that in order for there to be cooperation, compliance, and also benefit, people need to come to a table, talk, and come to an agreement. We cannot continue to have people who wake up, they make decisions and impose them on people. This also culminates in a form of resistance or deviance from certain players, which will be viewed as a rebelliousness by the local authorities. But if they were to engage people in dialogue, hear them out, how do we come up with a working system, and what works for the vendors or other workers in the informal economy, I believe we would come to an agreement to say, this is what works. I'll take you to a nearby country, a sister country in Africa, Tanzania. The Tanzanian president, when he came in, allowed vendors and all street vendors to work freely in the country, even those who didn't have marketplaces. And then he continued to come up with other measures to make sure there is some form of regularization. They now pay about 20,000 shillings a year. Then they are allowed to work freely. Once you pay those 20,000 shillings, you get an identity card which identifies you as an informal trader. I think this is how the government should engage. Viewing that we have such a huge informal economy, confrontation does not work from either party. Even government confronting the people who are so desperate for a living does not work. It's better to come up with a method that will bring all the parties together, have that dialogue, give people something that will entice them to comply, and also encourage them to contribute to the government coffers. Right now, it can be so discouraging in terms of accountability. So many people collecting from informal economy traders that you really do not know where each of the people are taking the money.
But do the vendors also listen from the government or the municipalities? Because we have seen where vendors are told to move away from the CBD to out of town, like the Coventry Bay, Holding Bay in Harare, Coca-Cola along Seke Road, where they are told go and trade there. Why is it they don't want to go to those areas?
As I have been saying, Robert, I can't overemphasize the fact that conversation is key. You can't talk to somebody using a shambok and you expect them to listen to you. You can't kick them and expect them to listen to you. You can't take their goods away and expect them to cooperate. There is need, just like when people campaign to be voted for. They invite people to rallies. They can even go from door to door talking to the people. So that should also be the process towards, if they want something done, they should still engage the same people who have voted for them to buy the idea, because you cannot flow with an idea that you do not own and believe that it will work.
Now that we are live and probably the policymakers, they are also watching, what is their weight probably to the head of state and say, this is our starting point. What can you put on the table?
There is a lot that we can put on the table, Robert, to say, just offhand, it would really go a long way to knock at a door and have it opened, to write a letter and have the head of state respond. Because if you write somebody a letter and they are quiet, it's just like if I were to send you a WhatsApp message, I would know I've seen the blue ticks, but you are silent. So we saw the blue tick with the head of state because the letter was delivered and we have a stamped copy, but no response. So what we are saying is, talk to us. We have heard such mantras as the listening president, but we do not have the evidence that there is that ear that is listening to everyone. Maybe the listening is selective, so we have to know. We are still pressing for engagement to say Zimbabwe cannot be built by one class or one clique of people. The informal economy is 95%, and this is the electorate. The years are pushing. We don't want to be engaged only once in 5 years and be used as voters to go and vote. We need to see what people really, that the policymakers, the president and the councillors, we should know that they value us as Zimbabwean citizens who have got an input in the daily running of the country and the developmental issues of the country.
Coming back to the chair, what is it that you think your members can do to contribute to the cleanliness of the places that they work from?
Our members can definitely sweep. That they can do. And we can even help to provide trash cans or bins. We once did it, but we have never seen any one of our bins in the streets of Harare. We delivered those bins to the city of Harare. So we don't know if this selection of or denial of the informal economy is that as informal economy workers we are a shame or a disgrace. We are not people that should be worked with, and not even a bin written the informal economy should be seen in the city. But the contribution of bins was just to show that there is a shortage of bins in the city. because you can walk a whole street and there is not even one bin in which to throw litter. No matter if people sweep, if you sweep and make a heap of rubbish, the next thing it will be scattered by people passing through. So we need all those measures in place to say, even as people clean up, we should provide lasting solutions like providing trash cans, providing big bins near the vending sites or marketplaces, and then complementing that with rubbish collection.
Vendors are also voters. Do you think you are united or you are divided along political lines?
I will speak for Zichia.
Yes.
As Zichia, we are a non-partisan organization.
Okay.
We work with workers from all political parties. In the organization, we do not ask people which political parties they support. What unites us are our issues, the issues of the need for sustainable livelihoods, and also the issues for the need for decent standards of living for all Zimbabweans in a stable economy as Zimbabweans, and also the need to have the informal economy mainstreamed into the main economy.
Assuming that there is an organization or the corporate world that might be watching now who wants to help your membership, what is it that you think should be first? The things that you want and say, if you want to help us as vendors, not as government, not as municipality, but as the corporate world, this is that you can bring on the table.
Thank you, Robert. I think that would be greatly appreciated, and the corporate is a very key player in the economy, which can also not be ignored despite our challenges as Zimbabwe. We would like a situation where the corporate does not just view us as a public nuisance or people who cause mess around the cities, but also as partners in the economy. To say if we do get partnerships with the corporate, we do know that there are some big businesses which give their goods to vendors. They support our members to sell their goods. We would also like a situation to say we know there are challenges with infrastructure. In other countries, we have seen the corporate setting up structures, working shelter for the vendors and other informal economy traders to work from. And what helps is that the corporate logo will be on that kind of shelter. And if it's a bank, naturally, that bank can easily tap into the beneficiaries to become clients of the very same bank. Tailor make some accounts for the informal economy traders. Then that also serves a win-win situation for both the corporate and the informal economy traders.
You mentioned the bank, which is quite interesting. Do you think the financial institutions in Zimbabwe have done anything to assist the vendors?
Not to say that I blame the financial institutions. It has been quite a difficult phase for the financial institutions to really put money into our sector. Because, for instance, the majority of our members do not have collateral. And I think also the norm has been to say only formally employed people can access loans, as they can get a salary-based deduction with the money going back to the bank. But for us, there's been no security. And I think also, as we are talking about national policies, banks can also tailor-make schemes through which they can also come up with means of securing the money which they may borrow to the informal economy workers, to say, how do we get it back? and how do we work together so that there is no loss, so that we maintain that returnability of any loans taken out by informal economy traders. I think there has to be a shift in that kind of relationship also. There needs to be engagement between the banks and associations such as ours. If the banks were to engage the chair, I think we could have progressive activities towards coming up with a working relationship that would ensure that even as people are given money, not only can they give us money, if money cannot be returned, I believe there is a lot that the banks can do for the informal economy and also get what they plow into the informal economy back.
But some would say they have no fixed abode, because today if they are at a certain corner, tomorrow they've changed, so it might be very difficult to trace those who are in the informal sector.
I think that is also an unfortunate assumption to say that they are of no fixed abode, because when we look at a lot of people, they came from the formal sector, and other people do have houses which are even better than those of people who are formally employed today. Some people who are formally employed are still struggling to get homes, but people working in the informal economy do have homes. So I think it would be necessary, that's why I said it would be an ongoing process to engage the bank as an association so that they can also do their own study and verify who has a house, what can people offer, and then we work together at that. So it's quite unfortunate that as the informal economy, we draw or are a magnet for so many negative assumptions, like they are of no fixed abode, they are not educated, they are very poor. So I think we really need to be at the table of discussions rather than be the menu. When we are the menu, people choose what to do with us. Today we can be stew, tomorrow we can be fried by those who are at the table.
You said your organization is in 47 centers.
Yes.
Yes. So when someone wants to join the chair, maybe just in brief, where can they find the offices?
Okay, we have an office here in Harare, which is the head office. We also have an office in Bulawayo. We have an office in Chivu. We have another one in Maswingo. And other areas are also working towards coming up with offices. So for one to become a member, these days it's especially easy. We have moved in terms of technology as an association to say in each of the centers where we have a presence, we have a management committee or a territorial committee which runs the day-to-day activities of the organization. So for every territory, we have an Android phone which is used to register our members. Once one is registered on the territorial phone, it reflects on the bigger system at national level. And that way it's easy to track our members, it's easy to communicate with our members through bulk SMSs, and so we are advancing. And in other words, as an office, we are a more formal office than an informal office. So we also look to upgrading our members. If government cannot do it, we will do it ourselves.
For now, offhand, how many members are under the chair as individuals?
As individuals, I can estimate that we are going, it could be plus or minus 500,000, and the membership is growing. And that one is a guess. I'm just guessing because of the high informality levels. We continue to engage people, and people continue to seek us out because of the programs that we roll out to converse with informal economy workers on the ground.
Yes, you mentioned something of interest, which you said the programs that you roll out. My next question was going to be, if I become a member of the chair, what is it in for me? What do I benefit from just being a member? I'm an informal sector. I go buy and sell. Why do I need to be under an association?
You as an informal economy worker, you need to be under an association so that you benefit from the critical mass or the critical voice of many. Because when one is alone, it's very difficult to put your issues to the table. But when you are a network and when you are so many, the voice becomes bigger. So this is what we talk about when we talk about representation. We represent each other as informal economy workers. That is why one has to join SlyMedia. And secondly, we advocate for issues, just like I have been sharing, to say we have come up with the 4 policy position papers. We are still not tired. We'll keep on sharing. And also coming up with alternatives to say this is how we envisage the informal economy to be handled. So that is advocacy to have policy reform like the outdated bylaws, which are the cause why there's always a cat and mouse between vendors, for instance, and the police. It's because of the outdated bylaws which focus on a situation which is no longer applicable to us. The bylaws were crafted when there was a big formal economy, when people were employed and very few were working in the informal economy. Now the tables are turned. We need to review our bylaws, working together with the local authority. Then we also empower our members. Empowering our members also through information. We empower our members by providing the space for them to create social solidarity economic groups, which can also be referred to as cooperatives. This also gives them a better working point to say when they work as a group. It's unlike when you work as an individual. As an individual, it's so easy to be tempted to squander everything, including capital. But when you are a group, you are bound by rules and there is a bigger chance of growing. Then we also educate our members in terms of existing policies, outside policies, which may govern informal economy workers. We also discuss, for instance, the Constitution. We talk about so many issues that affect the informal economy. And I think one book that you are holding there is part of a series of our books, which are, yes, that is the Leader's Guide, but we have 7 other booklets under that Leader's Guide, which belong to the study cycle material. So you will see that the study cycle material speaks about mobilizing and building business resources. It also speaks about information about our organization. We give it in this statistical material, and also it speaks about good leadership qualities, the gender dynamics in the informal economy. We speak about climate change. Why speak about climate change? It's a topical issue. This is the trend of the day, to say we are seeing a lot of the effects of the climate change, and we encourage our members, or we are working together with our members to move towards green jobs so that we do not continue to affect the environment adversely.
You mentioned something of interest where you talked about the bylaws. We have seen some of them, as you've mentioned, they were crafted before 1980. If you go through them, it's usually bylaw of 1972, 73, 77, 78. Why do you think it has taken so long for the municipalities to change them? Because if you look at some of them, they are segregatory. They were meant to keep blacks away from certain environments? Why do you think successive council and councillors have failed to change those bylaws?
Maybe for them it hasn't been a matter of priority. It hasn't been their priority to change bylaws. That's why I have emphasized to say we need that constant engagement and also to upscale that engagement with the local authorities to say there is need to change the bylaws to make them friendlier, more relevant to the current situation and also modern, so that we realize meaningful development within the local authorities.
Yes, it is the program Conversation on Mainstreaming Informal Economy, the key to Zimbabwe we want. And I'm talking to the chair president, Lorraine Sivanda. If you have missed a lot soon after we end this program, only what you have to do is to click the button and replay. The program is there 24/7. And next time, for you not to miss any of our interesting programs, please like or follow our Facebook page. Every time we go live on air, you will get a notification. President Sivanda, as we round off, today I might say I'm the president of Zimbabwe and you are looking at me one-on-one, face-to-face. What would you say to me as the head of state?
I would say to you as the head of state, get out of the denial mode. Let's get into reality. We have a vast informal economy. Engage the informal economy with an open mind and also with a mind which says these are legitimate citizens of Zimbabwe and this is the electorate.
That was his message. And your message to your membership that are watching right now?
To our membership who are watching right now, let's keep grinding. Our families need to survive. We need to survive. We need to change the status quo in Zimbabwe. We need to keep developing Zimbabwe. We need to keep working. We shall keep engaging. We shall keep working. We shall keep demanding until we get to the Zimbabwe that we want. And we will only get to the Zimbabwe that we want if we are patient, persistent, and also very focused in our demands and our work. Thank you.
Conversation on mainstreaming informal economy, the key to Zimbabwe we want. This is one of the conversations that we are having today, and we will continue to have such in our next programs. As I've said from the beginning, Zimbabwe is #1 in Africa when it comes to informal economy, and #2 in the world after South American country, Bolivia. What is it that has led us to be where we are today? For these and many other answers that are going to come, like our Facebook page, and you will never miss where we are and where we are going. On behalf of the crew and the president of Zichia, my name is Robert Afmane, SlyMedia, building bridges.
Lighthouse, a division of SlyMedia, are available at your disposal for your wedding videos and pictures. Our experience is second to none. To view our sample or to book us, call or WhatsApp on 0773 684 183 or email slymediastreaming@gmail.com.